So many years ago, I went to something called a Renaissance Festival. Now, I love the Renaissance Festival. I've gone every year for many years. Okay, I love the Renaissance Festival. And the one that's in Michigan is one of the biggest ones that is in the entire central Midwest of the United States. There's a good-sized one in Colorado, another one in Tennessee, and there's one over near Chicago that's a good size. But the one in Holly, Michigan is amazing. And it's just this giant ground, everything's built up. And so one year, a group of friends and I, 7 of us total, 6 friends and I, we crammed into my little Chevette, and we're driving over across the state to this thing. And I share that it's a Chevette because it's designed for 4 people, not 7. Okay, so we crammed into this thing, and we get there, and while we're there, we were there all day. Like, we got there at like 7 in the morning, and we stayed until, like 7 at night. I mean, it was just all day. Okay, and while we were there, of course, you get hungry, and there was this food court, and we're looking at the food court, and I was getting ready to get myself a turkey leg, because every year I get a turkey leg. This is big old honking thing. You need both hands. They don't give you silverware. That's not how you eat it. No. You grab that thing and you eat it like you're supposed to, with grease and just that's the way it goes. But this year was different. Somebody in the booth had for themselves along the side shrimp baskets. And I love me some shrimp. Shrimp's my favorite food in all the world, right? So I saw the shrimp basket, and it was cheaper than a turkey leg. And I went, yeah, baby. And so I went to order myself a shrimp basket. And 2 of my friends, named Chris and Heather, they decided they too wanted a shrimp basket. And so they stood in line and they ordered their shrimp basket. So we got our shrimp baskets, and we're getting ready to eat, and we're waiting for everyone to get their turkey legs and everything else they're getting. And we're sitting on the tree stump and on some logs, and we're eating, right? And I grab a shrimp tail, dip it in my ketchup, pop it in my mouth, and it was the grossest thing I've ever had in my life. It was mushy. It was cold. It was slimy. It left a film in my mouth. And after the second tail, I went, this is disgusting, and I threw it away. I looked over at Chris and Heather and asked them what they thought of their shrimp, but their baskets were already empty. I was like, wow, didn't you think that was nasty? And they said, oh, it was nasty. Well, why did you eat it all? Like, because I'm not going to throw away food. I'm hungry. Well, we go to leave home. We're in the car. We're on our 3-hour trek on the highway when all of a sudden Chris yells from the back seat, pull over! And I said, dude, what's going? He said, dude, just pull over. And I said, well, there's an exit 2 miles up. They might have a gas station. He goes, oh, no, you need to pull over now. I'm going to hurl. Okay, so I quick leg on the highway. I pull over. He climbs through the car. And this dude's like 6 foot something. So it's like a clown car moment, right? Everyone's just kind of plowing through, and he pops out, and then he bends over and he gives a big cough, and all this stuff is coming out, right? So he hurls right there. Now, what happens afterwards is a moment of strangeness. Because none of us knew, not even Chris himself, that there was a civil war going on in his body. That while the North seemed to be in control, the South was rising up. And that cough that he did simply mobilized the forces. So after putting his pants and underwear in the trunk of my car, a couple of friends and I, we took off our shirts, we gave it to him, and made ourselves a little makeshift underwear type of thing, and he wore that to get back into the car. And we start driving up the road again. And it wasn't just about a minute later, Heather yells out, oh no, you need to pull over. And I said, the exit's right here. And so we pull off the exit, and I go, and she's like, oh, you gotta stop. Oh, we gotta stop. And I pulled in. There was a gas station. Praise the Lord. She gets out of the car, and she runs toward the gas station. Only she get about halfway, and her run turned to a fancy little jog. And then a crazy little walk was going on. I knew what was going to happen. I rolled down my windows, and I swear I said this. I rolled down my window, and I yelled on the top of my lungs at like 9 o'clock at night, pinch your cheeks and run! Pinch them! Pinch them! She made it into the bathroom. At this point, it is where I decided I was going to start praying, because they all had the shrimp basket. And so did I. And so this is where I started praying, going, God, please, let me at least make it home. Because when they came back into the car, both of them were like, oh, I can't even move, I'm dead. And I'm like, I gotta drive, God, help make me get home. And he did. Everything waited till I got home. Here's the thing, though. I don't know if you've ever had those moments in life to where you made a compromise, you lowered your standards on something just to regret it later. There are times in life where compromise is good. Times in life where compromise is healthy for relationships. Times in life where compromise is helpful amongst terms of conflict and restoration. I get that. There are also times in life where compromise is devastating. There are times in life where there are moments where you just need to not lower your standards. Okay, and there are those times where we got to say, I got to stick to my guns here, and I cannot, must not compromise in this situation, no matter what beckons my call otherwise. No matter what tends to darken my door, I will not lower my standard. It is here, it is firm, and it stays. Okay, and so the problem comes is that we have the oh so great of temptation to compromise in the areas that we must not. And that's what Jesus is going to be dealing with today, are some of those areas, looking at when it comes to our lives, when it comes to our existence, there are areas we must not, absolutely cannot compromise. And we're going to kind of see this unfold as we go. We saw last week how Jesus was already asked by the religious leaders. They went up to him, they said, Jesus, give us a sign. Give us proof you are God. Give us proof you are the Messiah. Give us proof that what you're saying is accurate. And we looked at the evidences for how we know Jesus is God amongst any other person or any other being that's walked this earth. We looked last week how we knew that the Bible was God's word amongst any other text that exists on this planet. And if you missed last week, those sermons online, it's on YouTube on our website. By all means, check that out. Meanwhile, Jesus is going to now conclude his discussion with the religious leaders. And he's going to give them a very interesting story that is odd. It is really odd and doesn't seem like it fits the context until we back up and we unpack it. Because his whole discussion that he's going to do, because they just said, Jesus, prove to us you're God. And he said, only a wicked generation asks for a sign. Only a perverse and evil generation will ask for evidence, because I'm not running for Messiah. I'm not campaigning. I don't need your vote. I don't need your approval. I'm God. I'm Jesus, period. And that's what Jesus said. And then from that, he talks about then a guy who gets possessed by a demon, the demon gets kicked out of him, and then it comes back with 7 more. And it's just a weird conclusion to such a discussion that's going on. It doesn't seem to make sense on first read. So we're going to unpack this a little bit together. Didn't that sound like fun? I'm glad you thought so, because otherwise this is going to be a long morning. Okay, so this is Jesus' demonic conclusion. It's just 3 little verses, verse 43, 44, and 45. That's all it is, just 3 little verses. That's all we're covering today. Isn't that amazing? You might think that means we're getting done early. Think again. And so we got 3 verses here. So check this out. Here's how Jesus concludes his discussion with the Pharisees. He then says, after he says, hey, you know what? I'll give you a sign. As Jonah went into the belly for 3 days and came out, so the Son of Man is going to go into the grave for 3 days and come out. In other words, he predicted he was going to die and rise again from the dead. From that, he then says, and this is really seeming out of place, when an impure spirit comes out of a person, it goes through arid or waterless places seeking rest and does not find it. Then it says, I will return to the house I left. And when it arrives, it finds the house unoccupied, swept clean, and put in order. Then it goes and takes with it 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they go in and live there. And the final condition of that person is worse than the first. That is how it will be with this wicked generation. So, Jesus obviously is not thinking too highly of this particular generation if he says you guys are like a demon-possessed individual. Okay, obviously he's having some very strong feelings that are going on here, but this section is really, really, really odd. First off, I want you to notice something, how Jesus teaches a little bit about demons here. It's really fascinating. When the demon leaves a person, it goes to what type of place? Arid or waterless places. Okay, because demons hate water. Did you ever know that? I bet you're like, really? Demons hate water. Here's why. Water has always been a symbolic meaning for judgment. Okay, so demons hate water because it represents judgment. Now, you might be thinking, that seems like a little reading into things. Well, check it out. When God decided to flood the earth in the times of Noah, he flooded with water. Yeah, not toys, not blocks, not wood, not fire, but with water. And when you are baptized, the water represents the grave and death. And when you look at the Red Sea, when it got parted so that Israel could walk across dry ground, when Pharaoh and his people came in, it closed up upon them as judgment upon Egypt. And on it goes. In fact, the book of Revelation says that on the new earth, there'll be no more sea. Not that there'll be no more water, but there'll be no more judgment. Okay, and so on, we find that motif throughout Scripture. All right, and so it's just interesting that Jesus gives us that little detail that they do not like water. But what happens, though, is that the demon leaves and it comes back with 7 more. Now, scholars disagree on the number here, which is kind of funny when the Bible says 7 and then they disagree on what the number is. But here's what they tend to do. Is it literally 7, or is it like a perfect number? Because 7 also has the symbolic meaning of perfection. Okay, so could it be like the perfect number of demons? So it could be like 30 if that's the perfect number. And I would like to think that either way, can't we agree that it's more than one? Can't we agree that not only is it more than one, that the person that is getting possessed a second time is worse off than they started? Okay, so whether it's 7 or more than 7, it's just a really bad situation for the guy, right? So we can at least agree upon that. And here's the thing. When Jesus talks through this parable here, and he says, okay, when the demon left, when the demon comes back, he finds the house clean and in order. Now, this is important little detail again, that it is clean and in order. Because let me put this myth to rest. Cleanliness is not next to godliness. Anybody ever used to believe that old wives' tale? Cleanliness is next to godliness. My mom used to say that to me all the time to motivate me to clean my room. She'd be like, clean your room. No, I like it messy. Well, cleanliness is next to godliness. You said you want to follow God. You want to be godly, so you got to keep your house clean. You know, and it was just, that was that old thing. But cleanliness is not next to godliness. Let's just put that straight to rest, because here's the thing. A person's life can be fully in order and clean and still be ungodly. A person's house can be completely ordered and completely clean and still be owned by an ungodly person. Right? Okay, so that's something we kind of have to keep in mind. Okay, so just because somebody does the right thing does not mean they are a good person. Does not mean that they are going to heaven. Does not mean that they have salvation just because they do good things. Bad people can do good things. People who are going to hell can do good things. Good thing does not equal salvation. You cannot earn it by the things you do. But many live that way today. Many absolutely try to live that way today. They say, well, I'm a good person. Surely God will just give me grace. I don't need that Jesus junk. Surely I'm just a decent person. Surely I'm just good enough. And the problem is, the answer is no, it's not. It's not good enough because no one is perfect. Since no one is perfect, since everybody has sin in their life somewhere, since everybody was born a sinner, okay, it's in our DNA. You know, you love that? It's in our DNA. In fact, St. Augustine taught, and Martin Luther also repeated it, that when we are born, when we are conceived in our mother's womb, what God does is he takes a piece of the mom's soul, a piece of the dad's soul, weaves it together to make a new soul, and because of that, we inherit the sinful spiritual condition of our fathers, grandfathers, all the way back to Adam. And that is how we all inherit Adam's sin, is because his corrupted, twisted soul is piece by piece littered through all the way to us, so that when we are born sinners, and we sin because we are a sinner. We are not a sinner because we first sin. So the Bible is very clear that we start not on a clean slate. We start with the issue of sin. Okay, that's where we start. We start needing a Savior. That's where we start in life, needing a Savior. So we are all sinners, and no matter what good you do in this life, it will not clear that debt. Okay, it will not clear that debt. And so Jesus likens this to the story about a house. And I want us to kind of see this story a little bit. And I'm going to try to change the story here to modernize it in a way that we can understand what he's trying to get at. So let's all pretend that you all individually live in a house. And let's say it's a long time ago and it's a time of war. Whether it's Revolutionary War or the Civil War, doesn't matter. Whichever one you remember the most, some of you. Come on, it's an old joke. That's funny. That's funny to me. Okay, so Civil War, Revolutionary War, doesn't matter, but it's a long time ago, time of war. And let's say that during a time of war, a soldier hearkens upon your property and comes up to your house. And the soldier wants hospitality, wants to crash for the night. And you're like, cool, no problem. Come on in. And so they come in and they crash. The problem is they don't leave. They don't leave. They just stay, and they eat all your food, and they drink, and they're a drunkard, and they become abusive and violent, and they kick your dog, and they don't let you watch your TV, and they don't let you play on your Xbox because they're constantly doing their own thing, and it just wrecks your life. It's starting to wreck everything. It's wrecking your finances because of the food. It's wrecking everything. It's wrecking the safety of your home because they're a violent, angry drunk, and it's time to just get rid of them. Get rid of them. And so from whatever means, let's pretend that you mustered up enough strength, enough shrewdness, enough motivation, and you kicked them out of the house. Okay, and you got your house back. Yay! But you don't change anything. Sure, you clean it up. Sure, you get everything all back to where it was, and you get all the holes patched up, you get your fridge restocked, you get your TV back where it belongs, and you reprogram your phone, and everything's fine. But you don't put the house under new management. So what's going to happen in time? That soldier who kicked out is going to get tired of tents and woods. That soldier is going to get tired of fire and little scrap pieces of food. He's going to want to go back, but he's not going to go back the way he was because he got kicked out before. He's going to come back with what? Reinforcements. You got it. Okay, he's going to come back with reinforcements. Let's say 7 brothers of arms who are going to come and take over your house. And so what you got to do then is you got to find a way to make your house more secure. You need to get better management. That's kind of Jesus's point here, is that in our lives, we tend to let things in. And as we let them in, they destroy us. They wreck us. They devastate our lives. And then as we try to kick them out, if we don't get new management in charge of our lives, what happens is they come back with reinforcements. They come back, and we end up being absolutely worse off than we were before. And so for some of you, this parable completely illustrates your life. You were dating a guy, and he was an absolute jerk. And he was abusive and mean and cruel. And so you finally had enough. You had enough. So you kicked him out of your life, and then you decided, I'm going to be more spiritual. I'm going to go get self-help books. I'm going to get a dream. I'm going to get a clue. I'm going to get my act together. I'm going to try harder. I'm going to be more devout. I'm going to do more things and get myself all figured out. And then they find themselves right back again, either with the same person or with a different boyfriend who's also abusive. And they just continually begins to wreck their life. And they can't figure out why. Why are they drawn to bad people? Why are they drawn to abusive, manipulative relationships? And some guys have that same problem where they keep dating gals that are just manipulative. And they're not faithful. And they just can't figure out why are they constantly going from bad relationship to bad relationship. What's going on? What is it that it's just wrecking their life? It's just wrecking you, and you're getting exhausted, and you get to the point where you say, I just can't take it anymore, but no matter what I do, it doesn't seem to change. And they find themselves like this homeowner, absolutely desperate for something new. Absolutely desperate for something else to happen in their life because it's just getting worse. And it's getting worse and worse. They end up finding themselves, some people, they have different addictions and they thought they kicked it. And then suddenly things happen in their life and they get all stressed out and they find themselves back to the same way of old patterns of thinking, the same old patterns of sin, the same old patterns of self-destructive behavior, the same old patterns of whatever. And they say to themselves, I thought I kicked this. I thought I was fine, but now it's back, and it's even backed with a vengeance. And I just don't understand why I can't kick this sin out of my life, why I can't change the way I'm thinking or behaving. It's almost as if I'm not in control of myself. The habit is so strong. I just don't understand. And we actually begin to understand what's going on if we start backing up and unpacking a little bit of what Jesus contextually is trying to say amongst this entire passage and this entire sermon, including this parallel. And it all boils down to an old concept that many of us probably don't even know, because technically the word's not English, and there is no English counterpart for it. And it's called the sin of Akedia. How many for you, that is a new word? I've never heard that word. Oh, good. A lot of people saying, no, it got me there, Pastor. Okay, so the sin of Akedia. Now let me give you a little history on this word, just because it seems like you guys are interested. Well, I'm interested. Okay, here's a little history on the word. Way back, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there were a bunch of Greeks. After Alexander the Great had gone through and Hellenized everything, this is before Jesus was born, and the Greeks made up what was called the 8 heart motivations. They drove 8 heart motivations. These were things within a person that motivates them to defy God, that motivates them, and hear that, not tempts them, but motivates them. Different concepts that they have that tend to say, I am choosing sin over not sin, and that motivation is driven by, and they came up with 8 concepts. Now, over time, throughout after the birth of Christ and the rising of the church and all what has happened within the church, the Catholic Church became very strong and in power, and they changed the 8 heart motivations into a different list. They merged some and split some and reworked it, modernized it, and they came up with a list of 7. Anybody know what that's called? The 7 deadly sins. That's the history of the 7 deadly sins. This word they lost. Technically, they didn't lose it. They just translated it in a way that was really weird. And I get where they were going with it, but they were just totally missed the ball on it. They changed Akedia to a word called sloth. Okay, to the word called sloth. Now, we tend to view sloth as being lazy. And while I get where they view the word Akedia as potentially having a lazy component to it, the people who have the sin of Akedia work very hard. So it's not lazy like we think of couch potato. It's not lazy like we think of just being somebody who has no ambition in life, though it does include a lower motivation of things. So here's what Akedia means. Like I said, there's no English component to it, so I'm just going to give you the straight definition, okay? So here's what Akedia means. It is a lack of motivation that inhibits one from pursuing higher goals. Notice the word there. It is not the lack of motivation, period. It is not the lack of motivation of pursuing goals. It is the lack of motivation of pursuing what type of goals? Higher goals. So what it is a person who lowers their standard. They are not willing to pursue this goal because that goal is too difficult. That goal is too hard. That goal is going to take too long. That goal seems like it's an unrealistic expectation, so I'm going to compromise that goal, and I'm going to settle for a lesser goal, a lower goal, because that at least is a lower hanging fruit that I can reach. That at least is on a lower branch that I could be able to grab the fruit from. I don't want to strive toward the higher goal or the higher fruit on that. Okay, so what happens with Akedia is one loses their focus and they become willing to settle for less. Okay, and that's, by the way, how I like to define Akedia, is simply settling for less. Simply settling for less. So like for the woman who says, I can't find good guys, all I can find are bad guys, the problem there is they have a standard for what a guy should be like, and they are willing to settle for less. That's the sin of Akedia. And why do they settle for less? Because they are tired of waiting for somebody who will meet the standard. And so they lie to themselves, thinking that they set their standard too high. They lie to themselves thinking that they are looking for too perfect of an individual, so therefore I will settle for less. And then they wonder why they run across abusive men, why they run across men who don't love their mamas, they're a mama's boy. It's a whole different situation there. Okay, perfectly fine to love your mama and appropriate, not good to be a mama's boy where mama controls your home. Okay, a man who's going to live on his own needs to control his own home. Okay, he can't get mama's permission to find out what he should do with his spouse. Okay, so there's a difference between a man who loves his mama and a mama's boy. And so a woman has to have her standards, and a man has to have his standards. You know, does a woman love Jesus? And here's the thing, some people will meet somebody, and then they will get married in like less than a year. And the problem with that is, how do you really know if they are actually a godly person who meet your standards? Some people say, well, we just knew because we've known each other for 5 whole months. Whoopee! How long do you think a person can live a lie? How long can a person live a lie? Okay, long time. You need to wait longer than the lie. You need to see the individual in a variety of situations and circumstances. You need to find out how they do ministry in their church and their involvement in the church. You need to find out if their budget reflects their devotion to God. You need to find out if their behavior is actually that which is appropriate for anybody within the church. You need to see what they do in the church, how they're involved, how God is working in their life. Is there passion for God lip service, or is it really, truly mind, heartfelt? Are they actually devoted to the Lord? And a person can fake that for a while. You need to wait longer than how long it takes to fake. You might say, well, how long is that? Well, I don't have a timeline because different people have more stamina than others when it comes to lying. But you got to wait it out. That's why you can't just say, well, we knew each other for 5 months, let's get married. Then they say, man, I made a mistake. And I just want to go, you think? And then some people say, well, so-and-so, they met, and 2 months later they got married, and look how awesome their relationship is. Yeah, accidents happen. Don't be one of them. Okay, that's not the goal here. The goal is to have your standard, that they love God more than they love you, that God is first in their life, that their devotion to God is number one, so that you know that their devotion to you and their faithfulness to you is going to be pure and true because it's based on God, not just based on you. A person that bases their devotion and faithfulness upon you is a person that will cheat and be unfaithful the moment you don't measure their standard. And that's what happened. It always boggles my mind when somebody has an affair, and then the two people who had an affair get married, and then the person who had the affair goes, man, the other person seems unfaithful to me. Well, you think? You had an affair. And you cheated with each other. And now you're questioning whether you're faithful in your current marriage, and they had another affair. Well, you think? At what point did they have self-control? You see, so we have to have our standards, and we can't lower our standards, but people do that all the time. They settle for less. And what happens is how Jesus' story fits into all this is that he is saying, if you're going to keep your house from being destroyed by vagabonds and people who don't belong destroying your house, you got to have it under new management. You got to have it under new management. A way of looking at it would be, Jesus is the owner of your house, therefore you will run your house, run your life like he wants you to run it, not like you want to run it. So you let him be the owner. And this problem continues on. I was looking in online not too long ago, I ran across a Dear Abby column. I had no idea Dear Abby still existed. And I ran across this. Dear Abby, I've been with this guy for 2 years. He's very nice at times, giving me flowers and back rubs. Other times, however, he calls me names, pushes me around, abuses our dog, keeps my money, spends all the time with his friends, lies about things, and makes fun of my family. In the past, he has hit me, but I've always forgiven him. However, nowadays, I just never feel happy. I don't know what to do, Abby. Please, we've been through counseling at church, but nothing has changed. My friends and family say I deserve better, but I love him with all my heart. Can the good outweigh the bad in our case, or is it vice versa? Needing help in Bedford, Indiana. And for us, we want to just say, well, dump the bum. For us, on the outside, it seems so simple. For the person who commits Akedia, they are so afraid of being alone. They are so afraid of what it will take to be alone that they would rather be in a bad relationship than no relationship. Because for the people that commit Akedia, it's a form of idolatry. Something else is God of their life other than God. Okay, because for this person, their relationship is God. Their relationship gives them meaning. Their relationship gives them comfort. Their relationship gives them significance, gives them hope. They want to feel loved, and not by a family member who has to, because families love each other. They want to feel loved from somebody else, and they are so devoted to wanting that. That is their God. That is their passion. That is their purpose and strive. And so they mess with that, and they settle for less in order to achieve it. And they get bad relationship after bad relationship. This happens to guys, it happens to girls, it happens all the way around. And they feel stuck. They feel trapped. Because here's the truth. If you worship anything other than Jesus in your life, you will be let down. If you worship anything other in this life, you will be let down. If you worship relationships, you will be let down. If you worship job or prestige, you will be let down. If you worship a lifestyle, if your goal is to be able to achieve certain possessions or a certain type of income or a certain type of job, and then you say, there, I've made it. There, I'm successful. There, I have achieved everything I could possibly achieve in this life. No matter what that is, you will be let down at some point or another. And Jesus is the only thing, the only one who will not let you down. But we all have that motivation somewhere in our life to pursue other things than God. And then we try to justify it. We don't want to measure up to His standards. We don't want to try to achieve His standards. We don't want His standards to be our standards. We say, well, the Bible says this, but, I got unique circumstances in life. Well, the Bible says this, but, that was way back then. Things are so different now. I know Jesus said, but, I think there's ways around this. I could make excuses, so I don't have to try to keep that as my standard, so I could have something less, something that's more palatable to me, something that's easier for me to grasp. And then that's going to be fine. All the while, that's a path to self-destruction, spiritually and personally. We have to keep our standards proper. There are certain things in life we absolutely cannot compromise. But people do it all the time. They absolutely don't get that if they want a new life, they need a new owner. Think of it like this. If you had a house and you just left it there, and you never did anything to it, you just left it, what would happen to that house after a while? And it's amazing. You're like, well, I'm never using it. No one ever goes into it, so surely it will just stay in pristine condition. Except there's little things called bugs, little things called spiders, little things called decay, weathering, hot, cold, paint bubbling, paint peeling, wood chipping and cracking, and drywall breaking and chipping, and on it goes. And of course, if the house is left unattended, no vagabond, no street person ever wants to they'll never go into it because, the doors are locked. Yeah, they'll stay out of it because, those people never go into property that's not theirs. And once vagabonds go into it, what's going to happen to the house? They always make houses better, right? You see what's going to happen? The house will get destroyed unless it's under proper ownership. Unless it's under proper ownership. And here's what people do. They take their Akedia, they take their lower fruit, they take their other gods of desire and comfort and security, and they try to merge that with Jesus in some odd, weird little way. And they'll say phrases like, well, I'll follow Jesus if. I'll follow Jesus if only I can get certain guarantees. I'll follow Jesus only if it means I won't have any problems. I'll follow Jesus if I could have a crisis-free life. Wouldn't that be nice? I know, people, you might say, well, I would never say that. I would never say that. But here's what I have heard people in our congregation say all the time. You know, it's weird that so many pastors are struggling and so many bad things are happening to good people. It doesn't make sense. You think God would take care of his own. I have heard those phrases. Same thing. Just told from the other side of the coin. Hey, that's my last thing. Okay, that's what people say around here. It's what I've heard multiple times. Well, why is it that I'll say I'm going through a hard time. They'll say, wow, I would think that God would spare you from that. Well, why? Because you're a pastor. No, life's going to suck because I'm a pastor. It's not going to be easy because it's going to be difficult because you're a Christian. Jesus promised that. He said the world will despise and hate you. Not that everything will be fluffy-nuffy, but people still think this mindset that somehow God will just put a bubble around you, protect you from all the junk that's happening in the world. And then other non-Christians see that attitude, and they want that in their life. They want to say, yeah, I'll follow God if I can have a crisis-free life. And so the best analogy I can have for this understanding is what Jesus does offer is my new cell phone. I got this neat little, I needed a new phone because my phone was going, bonkers. I couldn't get my email or my voicemails anymore. It wouldn't play, and my speaker quit working, and my touchscreen was going, and it was just going nuts, right? So it was time for a new phone. It was like 3 years old, time for a new phone anyway. So I got like the iPhone 8. I was like, yay, And so I get there, and I went many times into different places, pricing phones. Do I want the 7? Do I want the 8? Do I want to wait for the X? The X is how much? Do I want the 7? Do I want the 8? And just trying to figure it out. And so I'm asking, people, what are the benefits of each? And it was it was hilarious. This one lady at Verizon, she's like, check this out. There are new shields. You can put them on your phone, hit it with a hammer, and it won't break. Check it out. She puts a shield on, takes a hammer, crack, and it broke. It was just hilarious. I had a great day there that day. It was so funny. And so anyway, they had said that the iPhone 8, I'm like, what's the advantage to the 8 over the 7? And they said, well, in the 8, you could drop it in the toilet, and we won't have to put it in rice right away. I went, what? And they said, yeah, you could drop the 8 into a toilet, and it'll be fine. I'm like, what's in your toilet? My toilet, if anything goes in my toilet, it's not fine. It's a bad moment regardless, okay? That's just the reality of that. But I'm like, well, why? And they said, well, see, there's glass all the way around it. It's in the back, too, there's glass. It's an entire case in glass. So it makes it a seal that makes it water resistant. It was an interesting phrase she used, water resistant. I wanted to unpack that word a little bit. I'm like, oh, so if I can drop in the toilet and it's fine, that means it's waterproof. She goes, no, it's not waterproof. It's water resistant. I'm like, so in other words, water is getting into it. So what's the advantage of the glass? She goes, no, water won't get into it. So it's waterproof. No, it's water resistant. So what's the difference? She said, well, waterproof means it's guaranteed not to get water in it. We don't guarantee water will get in it. It's just likely that it won't. But we really prefer that you keep it away from water. But should the accident happen, odds are you'll be okay. Oh, I see how it is. And you see, and therein lies the difference of what Jesus offers and what people want from Jesus. I know, you're like, what? Check this out. Jesus does not offer a crisis-free life. That's what the world wants, to stay away from crisis. That's what people want, to stay away from problems. Should something accidentally happen, I want to know I'm okay. But overall, my goal is to stay away. Stay away, because I don't know what's going to happen should the problem come. What Jesus offers is not a crisis-free life where you stay away from problems. What Jesus offers is a crisis-proof life. Here's what crisis-proof life is. That you can take the phone, submerge it in water, and it won't be destroyed. Not that it has to stay away from water. That it can get fully submerged and not be destroyed. That's what Jesus promises. Not that you'll stay away from problems, but that you can get submerged right into the thick of it, and it won't destroy you. Because Jesus has his hands on you, and he makes your life crisis-proof. That's a person who has a new home with a new owner. and that owner is Jesus, their life becomes crisis-proof. They have hard times, they have difficulties, they have crises all the time. It just doesn't wreck them. It hurts them. It painfully oppresses upon them. They have sleepless nights, crying. There's a lot of pain, but it does not destroy. Because we know that in the end, it does not, no matter what the pain is, it does not change that God's in control. It does not change that salvation cannot be touched, that it is offered and it is permanent. It does not change that Jesus' hands are on you with a grip that don't slip. It does not change any of that. It will not destroy you. Even if you become a martyr and die, it does not destroy you. You are God's child. It will stay that way permanently. You are crisis-proof. For anyone else that does not have Jesus as their owner, they are not crisis-proof. They are just hoping they're crisis-resistant. But the moment something creeps in, it wrecks their world, and they spiral into oblivion, completely in self-sabotage, completely in devastation, because everything is wrecking around them, and that which they have devoted their lives to the most has completely let them down, and there's nothing left to hope for, nothing left to live for. And that's where suicidal tendencies come in, that has suddenly grown in great prevalence in our society, because our world has grown hopeless to where even name-calling and bullying makes them feel like they have to kill themselves because they got nothing else to live for, because they're not crisis-proof. They're crisis-resistant at best, and it's failing them and letting them down. And what they need is Jesus in their life to be crisis-proof. To be wrapped completely, not just by glass, but by the loving hands of Jesus himself, where nothing can break through. No matter how many more people come at you, no matter how many demons come at you, even the perfect number of whatever that would be cannot break through the hands of Christ. We are crisis-proof. And will you be that today? Will that be something that describes your life today? Are you able to walk out those doors just crisis-resistant, hoping for the best, like a crapshoot with dice, or are you crisis-proof, guaranteed that no matter how deep into the tragedy of life you get submerged, you know you won't be destroyed? Because you know you are God's and he is yours. Which are you leaving here today as? Crisis-resistant or crisis-proof? Let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, we are all here and we're just heard from your word and we unpacked it a little bit. And Lord, there might be some who are here that are not of your family. They have not accepted you as Savior. And Lord, I ask that you would touch their heart, that you would put your hand over their mind and allow them to realize their need for you. And that the idea of crisis-proof only comes from you and in you alone. Because only you, Lord, are our hope. Only you are our salvation. Only you are our Redeemer. Everything else will let us down, but you never will. You have been faithful from the very beginning all the way till now. You have been faithful and you will be faithful. So Lord, if there's anyone here that has not accepted you, Lord, I ask that you touch them in a way that they will accept you as Savior. And Lord, for those that are already your sons and daughters in your name, bought by the blood of Jesus, Lord, I ask that with them, that you will just remind them of the state they have in your hands. That no matter what tragedy comes upon their life, no matter what oppression or disaster befalls them, that it will not destroy them because you've got us. And that we're in your arms, and those are good arms, strong arms, safe arms. This we ask in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Let's all stand together and sing this last song. If you have not accepted Jesus as Savior and you want to, by all means, I would love to pray with you. Maybe other people that will. Just come forward up.